All right. Hey, everybody. This is Rosh, and you are watching Helix Basics. So this is a YouTube tutorial series that I'm putting together to help new and experienced users program their Line 6 Helix Floor. So a little about myself. Once again, my name is Rosh, and I build and program a lot of guitar rigs out here in the LA area. If you've been watching this YouTube channel, you've been seeing definitely a lot of fractal audio content. One thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that I actually also program a lot of the other modelers out there on the market, including the Quad Cortex, the Kemper, all the fractal products like the FM3, the Axfex 3, and the FM9, and in this case, the Line 6 Helix Floor. So some of my clients include Steve Vai, Leppard, Melissa Etheridge, Kylie Minogue, Maroon 5, Perfect Circle, Bush, and more. And I wanted to give back to all the community out there and show some tips and tricks on how to program the Line 6 Helix Floor. There are a lot of crossover, best practices between all the different modelers to help you get the best tone live in the studio, whatever situation you want. So again, I just wanted to give back to the community and show some tips and tricks on how I definitely program a lot of these units for people. So this video is going to be about dialing in a basic tone and using some basic navigation on that. I'm going to basically do this all on the front panel for this particular video, and then I'm going to do it again on the Helix editor. And, there's both approaches. A lot of people only want to, use the front panel. Other people want to use the editor, or maybe both. In my opinion, it's much easier to do everything on the editor. But again, it's important to also learn the front panel on a lot of these modeler units in case you want to tweak your tones on the fly at a gig or rehearsal or in the studio. And if you don't have a computer handy, that can be very, very useful for you. So right here, we have the factory preset. This is the US double normal. This is basically like a Fender Twin. And then this is in the factory preset banks. So the first thing that you want to do is there are basically in the Line 6 Helix world, they have what are called set lists. So there's up to 8 set lists. And in these set lists, you can store all your presets. So if you want to actually quickly scroll through any of your presets, you can of course rotate this knob right here, and then it allows you to basically scroll through the presets at will. You can of course, in the previous video, you saw that I was using the bank up and down switches to scroll through different presets. There's a lot of different ways to get around on the unit. So right here, we're going to hit the home button just so we go back to everything, hit cancel here so it gets out of bank up and down mode. And what I always recommend with a lot of clients is find the factory presets that sound really good to your ears, and then, you can basically modify them from there. So right here, this is just kind of the basic sound that we're getting from the US double normal, just as basic generic clean sound. I'm playing a Les Paul. This is a neck pickup on the Les Paul. Okay. And so what I want to do is, instead of editing any of the factory presets and overwriting them, I want to make a copy of this and put this in a user slot in a user set list. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways to navigate around on all the presets. So instead of just using the knob and just turning forever, you can also use this button right here. It looks like it's usually referred to in the tech world as a hamburger icon. Sorry, not the hamburger icon. We want to hit the preset button right here, this preset knob, and we're going to push that in. And then now what we can see is we have the first 2 set lists. It says Factory 1 and Factory 2. And those are the factory set lists, aka the factory presets that we have. So as you can see in this right-hand column, if we scroll down, these are all the presets that you would be scrolling through as you go through the bank up and down switches. Now, as I use this joystick, the cool thing is it will actually load the preset for you so you can audition the preset. So here's the Essex A30. So what I want to do is I want to take this US double normal and I want to put it in one of the user set lists so I can just edit it. I don't have to worry about, mistakenly, editing the factory set list, and then you have all these user slots that you can do. So, there's a lot of different ways to do this. So if you're already familiar with this, you might have your own workflow for this. But again, what you can do is, of course, you can basically go to the preset number and you can hit the save right here. And what this is going to say is that you can rename the preset in whatever way you want. But if we look down here in this set list, right here on the 4th knob, this is going to ask you, hey, which set list do you want to do? So again, I'm just going to exit here for just a brief moment, go back to the preset, and we want to go to set list number 3 in this case. So I'm just going to move it to the first user set list, and then that's where I'm going to place the preset in there. So you can go here, you can hit save. So it's going to ask you, hey, you want to save this preset somewhere. And then by spinning this knob right here, it allows you to select which set list you want to do. So for example, I'm going to go to set list 3. I already have a preset there in 1A, so I definitely don't want to overwrite that, but you can see in the knob right next to it, you can also pick the destination. So for the time being, what I'll do is I will put it in destination 1B right there. So by spinning this knob, you can go through all the different presets that are in the set list that you're currently on. So for example, 1A already has a main preset, but we have all these other slots here that we can overwrite. And if you look right here, it says new preset. So there's nothing in there. It's a blank slot that you can use. Of course, if you decide that maybe you want to use set list number 4 or 5, these are again user set lists that you can use. You can pick anything like that. So of course you can go into user 4 right there, and then you can basically save this preset right here, the double normal, into whatever set list you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 3. I'm going to go to destination 1B so I don't overwrite that main preset. And then the last thing you can do, of course, is hit save. And that is assuming that you don't want to rename this in any way. You can, of course, rename it if you'd like, but we're just going to save it in setlist 3, destination 1B, and I'm going to hit save. All right, so now what we can see is that we are in now, not this one, preset. We are now in the 3rd user set list, and then 1B in the user set list is now that US double norm. So of course we can rename this, we can rename the preset, we can rename the snapshots. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's say we hypothetically wanted to rename this so that we know that, hey, this is not the factory preset anymore. It's our own personal preset. I can just hit delete, and then we can just start from scratch right here. And again, you can use, any of the, the nav buttons right here to go down. So, so let's just say I'll call this Rosh or something like that. So Rosh, not hitting the button. All right, here we go. We can hit the R, then we can hit the O, and we can hit the S, and we can hit the H. So we'll just call this Rosh or something like that. Again, much easier to do in the editor. You can just type in the name and then save it. So I'm going to hit the OK button. And now this preset is called Rosh. So we're going to hit the home button back here. And then now we have this preset, and you can tell that it's not a factory preset anymore, that we can edit at will. So anytime you're making any adjustment in the amp parameters or any of the parameters in any of the effects blocks, you're definitely always going to want to save it. Now, if you were watching the previous tutorial, you were probably thinking like, hey, why isn't he saving any of these things? Again, I was just doing a quick run through of how to navigate around on the Helix. This time, we're going to make some adjustments. So for me, maybe I want a clean sound, and I want to make sure that this is just going to work as like a clean sound. And then I'm going to use a bunch of different overdrive pedals to kind of give different levels of gain. So again, this is a factory preset. Some of these effects you may want to clear out, etc., so that you can fit some of your own effects. And of course, there's plenty of room to go to this bottom row. We'll address that in the future, but again, this is just going to be a quick tutorial dialing in a very basic sound. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is that, in my opinion, if with every modeler out there on the market, doesn't matter which one it is, the cabinet block of the modeler is always going to be the most important tone shaping feature. So right here, I use the joystick, going to the cabinet. And again, by default, this factory preset has the double C12N with a certain mic at a certain distance, and then the low cut and the high cut. So the most important thing about the cabinet block is definitely the low and the high cut. The low cut determines how much low end is going to be in the cabinet and how much high end is going to be in the cabinet. Now, again, if you're not familiar with miking a guitar cabinet, the proximity effect of moving a microphone right next to the cabinet is going to introduce a lot of low end to it. So for example, I'm using a lav mic, but if I put this right up against my voice, you can hear that the closer I get to the microphone, way more low end is introduced, and I'm not changing the tone of my voice. Let me clip that back onto my collar. A lot more low end is going to be introduced to when you have, a cabinet reflection like that, or I'm sorry, proximity effect like that. So it's really important that you dial in the low cut, in a certain way, so that if you're playing through a full range speaker, if you're going to front of house, if you're going through studio monitors, you're not going to get too much of this boomy low end. So 80 hertz is a good starting point. Some tones, depending on how much low end there is, I may even go up to 100. And in the high cut, 8,000 hertz or 88.0 kilohertz is also a good starting point. And again, the higher or lower you go from the high cut is going to change the top end. So for example, I'm going to take the low cut all the way off, and you can hear that the low end can get really boomy on the guitar. And then as I bring this up to the default where it was at 80, way less boomy. And again, that's a palm mute on the low E. You can hear that. Now let's go all the way up to 100, and you can also probably hear the difference. And again, I'd recommend listening on headphones or studio monitors. So again, pretty standard practice that most of the time a front of house engineer, when playing live, is going to cut you around 80 to 100 hertz. So in the studio, the same thing is going to happen, as well as, if you may have a low cut in a full range monitor, again, it usually is around 80 to 100 hertz. Now, the high cut is going to do the same thing, but from the top end. So for example, if I strum a chord and I bring this down, it's going to get really dark. So 8.0 kilohertz is a good starting point. Some oscillate somewhere between 5 and 8, or 5,000 and 8,000 hertz. And again, it just depends how much sparkle I want in the top end of my guitar tone. So here is 8. And then here's about 5. I'll go to the bridge pickup, and then you can definitely hear that a little bit of the top end gets shaved off, a little bit of that sparkle. And here is 5. So if you want a darker tone, if that little high-end spikiness coming out of your studio monitors, full range speaker, headphones is, kind of too brash and hurting your ears, I definitely recommend cutting all the way down to 5,000 hertz. And then, so the other thing that you can do, of course, is you can pick a different cabinet for this. Again, we'll just keep this in the same cabinet for the time being. I think it probably sounds all right. And so now what we want to do, of course, is we want to have at least let's say we were going to play a gig or something, and we need at least a distortion or something so that we can go between a clean sound and an overdriven sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this joystick right here, and I'm going to select one of these effects, and then we can just delete it, or we can replace it with something else. So for example, let's not use the compressor right here, and it's going to be that red squeeze compressor. And we're going to just replace it with something else. Now, if you're looking here in stop mode, you can also, of course, lightly tap, and it's going to select whatever effect you want right here. So as you can see, so if I select the red squeeze, for example, I don't really want to use a compressor in this preset. What I want to do, of course, is I want to replace that with an overdrive. So we can select it with the joystick, select it with a tap, and then we're going to press down on the joystick, and we are going to select distortion. So I'm going to use the joystick and go to the left most column and select distortion. And again, well, I'm going to pick a mono, and we're going to use one of these. So let's just say we want a basic clean sound and a dirty sound. So I'm going to go down, and let's say, let's use the compulsion drive right here. This is based on the OCD pedal. So again, what you can do, of course, is now that we're in stop mode, you can bypass it, and you can engage it, and then you can use these knobs to adjust it. So this will definitely help if you're trying to level out a sound. So for example, if I play and I bypass, you can tell that the effect needs to come up in volume because it's much quieter than the clean sound. You can hear the clean sound's way louder, right? So what we want to do, of course, is hit the compulsive drive, turn up the level until we can at least kind of, get it close enough. Either you may want it even in volume. I prefer my distortions to be slightly louder than the clean sound, because let's say, you're playing live and the chorus kicks into a song and you turn on the distortion, you want to make sure that the, if the drummer starts playing louder, you can also keep up with the volume. We can probably go up a hair more. I'm going to turn the tone down just a hair. It's a little spiky for my ears. Okay. And what we're going to want to do is, of course, bypass it. And we want to make sure that we hit save. So we're going to hit save. And then since we don't need to change the destination or the set list, we're just going to overwrite the preset that we're currently on. I can just hit save again. Now, a couple quick shortcuts as you're dialing in your tones. This button right here is going to automatically select the amp block. So if you are on a different block, for example, maybe I'm editing the optical tremolo and I want to go back to the amp block, you can just hit that button right there and you can adjust that. I think, without changing any of the knobs, it's probably a good sound right now in terms of the clean sound. So now I have basically a basic overdrive and a basic clean sound. So what we can do the same process with the rest of these effects. For the time being, this is a really good place to stop. Again, we've just what we've done in this video is we've definitely gone from saving a factory preset into a new preset slot in the user slots. We edited one effect, and then we, were able to tweak some of the tones all in the front panel. Again, I find this much easier using the editor. So in the next video, I'll definitely do the same thing, but with the editor. So if you guys need any one-on-one help with any of your Helix products, by all means, feel free to reach out to me and we can set up a session. Other than that, everybody take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.
I'm falling with you, I'm standing with you, got it all in my hands, but I don't know how to breathe. I'm walking outside, taking